right, so welcome to the Meatgistics podcast. Austin and I will be going through a bevy of topics.
I don't even get to say my name.
No.
Hey guys, I'm Austin.
And if you don't know, I'm John. And the first thing we're going to do, have a beer.
Oh, yeah. I was going to skip straight to meat of the day.
Why would you skip beer?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking at the meat and I'm kind of hungry, but I'd actually probably prefer the beer first. So
let's go beer first.
Let's go the beer.
So Austin and I each got a beer for the other person. We don't know what it is. And wow, that is a fancy can. Devil's Advocate, a Belgian style 9%er.
It sounds like it's from a church. They might just be on a street called Church Street, but it sounded interesting. Looked good. I thought you might like that. So
it looks like a stained glass window with the devil. So
yeah, well, you are what you drink.
I do like the fact that it's 9%.
So I've got a Delirium Red, a Belgian ale. I'm pretty sure. Oh, with cherry and elderberry.
Yes.
Elderberry is always healthy. I feel good about drinking
there you go.
With elderberry.
And now it's more important than ever.
That's interesting.
Oh, that's delicious. That's really good.
Is this supposed to be a sour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say sour.
It does somewhere on it. Doesn't it?
No, I don't think it does.
Oh. Maybe on the packaging for the 4-pack.
Maybe, yeah.
This is really good, though.
So I scored?
Definitely.
Okay. I am interested to try one of those. It scares me a little bit that, like, if I take a sip, the end of the world's going to come based upon the label.
Fair
on
enough.
The can.
We'll have to get a close up of this and put this up there because that is intricate. It's churchstreetbrew.com.
Yeah, definitely a cool label. That drawed me in to start. But so the Delirium Red, it's very good. It's the cherry is strong.
Really?
Which sometimes,
can I smell?
Yeah. Sometimes when you see that in a beer, I get kind of concerned because when you mix cherry or some of the fruits kind of like that into a beer, it ends up tasting like a NyQuil cough syrup type of thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But this is very good.
So the first experience I had with Delirium was their Delirium Tremens. And that's the technical name for the shakes for when you don't have alcohol and you need it. So probably.
Wait, that's a thing?
Yeah. What? The shakes? You never heard of the shakes?
No, you can like get addicted to alcohol and be like,
if you don't have it? Yeah.
I didn't even
Alcohol
know that.
is one of the very few drugs that if you try to quit cold turkey and you're like a serious alcoholic, you will die.
That's not good.
Yeah. You can die from just trying to cut off alcohol too quickly.
That's crazy.
That's why the Pennsylvania, them closing down liquor stores, like, that's not a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. With all the COVID stuff going around. Yeah. As soon as I heard the first thing about months ago, talking about what's closing down, I'm like, dude, you can't close liquor stores. And
bad idea.
One, my own personal deal. I like my beer. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go without it, but I'm like, you will have like an uprise.
Yep.
Like America will revolt against that. You cannot close liquor stores.
We've done it in the past.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Prohibition. People went crazy. There were riots.
Yeah.
So
I could see transitioning occupations. I could turn myself into a Prohibition liquor runner or something if they bring that back.
I thought you were going to say rioter. I would be a great rioter.
No, see, yeah, you'd be a better rioter.
Rioter.
I would be a better like operational guy behind.
Sure. Yes.
How are we going to get liquor to all these people that need it? And
hence why you have your job here and I have my job here.
I don't know that I should say all that, but yeah, I would be that guy that's like, I'm going to make some money off this and I'm going to see how can we get liquor to the people that want it.
And I'd be in the streets, freedom! Okay.
While you're jacked up on my liquor.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I wouldn't do it otherwise. All right. So the next thing that we do is every week, either Austin or I selects a meat product, does not tell the other one what it is, and they have to guess what the flavor is. This week I've done snack sticks.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm going to guess what it is before we even get to there because I was just going to say it's a snack stick.
That's not going to work.
Okay. So I have to actually choose the flavor.
Correct.
That makes it a little bit harder.
Yeah. I did do something nice, and I kept it with regular meat this time. Didn't do what you did last week.
Oh, I mean that had a higher purpose in that episode though. So if you didn't hear last week's episode, I used bison and Beyond Beef from the Beyond Meat company. That's like basically fake meat.
Dirty tricks.
But I did that on purpose because we've been talking about stuff like that on how to source different meat products, what you're going to use if you can't find beef and pork. So I felt like I wasn't being too dirty because it was in context.
Well, whenever you're ready, go ahead, take a bite of that.
There's definitely high temp cheese in it.
There is high temp cheese in it.
Did you do that to throw me off?
I did not.
It is kind of hard just because the high temp cheese does add that kind of creaminess and that cheese flavor.
Yep.
That it does mask other flavors.
Well, that is also pork.
Ooh. And then you get a little bit of spice at the end.
A little bit.
It's not hot.
Nope.
But as you swallow, you get that touch of, there's I always struggle to define that. It's more of a seasoning flavor than a spice. It's not spicy, but you can tell that, boom, it hits you.
There's
right
something
there.
in there.
There's the flavor.
Yep. There's no chance you're getting this. I will tell you that. I'll give you that hint. I very much doubt you're going to get this. And you know me, I make the same 6 snack sticks, so.
Yeah, well, here's the thing is that you chose something that has multiple options. Because I know where we're going with this one. It definitely has a barbecue flavor.
Okay.
But it's a question of which barbecue did you use.
What do you mean?
Well, we have I forget the official name.
Habanero barbecue?
Well, no, I was going to get to that next.
Okay.
So we have like a barbecue smoke stick or a smoked barbecue stick or something like that. But then I'm like, okay, well, you are famous for habanero barbecue. Is it habanero barbecue? That's where I'm struggling. I don't think it's sweet enough.
I'll cut
to be habanero barbecue.
Yeah, I'll cut the tension right there. Is not habanero barbecue.
Then,
No.
No, we've always got to look up.
Absolutely not. I would have gotten H110C for sure last week had I done that.
Okay, so right now, for those that aren't watching on YouTube, I'm pulling up on
He's
our
trying
tablet here to look at the seasoning list because I know it's barbecue something.
Okay,
but do I have to guess the official name?
Yes.
Well, let's see, and then I gotta pull up the website.
All right, fine. I will give you that crutch, but I am now allowed that.
Yeah, going forward, we're gonna have to allow that. The only other thing that it could be is barbecue smoke stick. It's barbecue smoke stick.
You were very close, and I was really afraid you had me there when you were talking about, but it could be something else. It's barbecue jerky.
Hey, that's not legal. No, that's not legal. That's an illegal move right there.
I do it all the time. I only use our barbecue jerky as our snack stick. I don't use the barbecue smoke stick.
I faintly remember a conversation about not using a seasoning in a different product.
No, you do not remember that at all.
If that's the case, you better be prepared for next week because I am going to mess with your head.
That's fine. I will come prepared.
And that does make sense, though, because I correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say the barbecue smoke stick is a little sweeter.
Yes.
So the barbecue jerky, it's one of the things I love. That is one of my favorite flavors on jerky.
Yep.
It has that weird sweetness to it that is barbecue, and then as you're eating it, like once you've swallowed it and you're done, all of a sudden you're like, whoa! It just kicked me with some extra flavor. I don't know how they do that.
Nope.
That's the genius behind Excalibur right there. I love everything that they put out, but it's a weird thing to describe. You have to try it to understand the full complexity on that flavor.
Yep, pretty much. And that does bring up something that we get questions on all the time on both Meatgistics and social media is, can I make product X out of seasoning Y? can I make a summer sausage out of this snack stick product? And the answer is almost always yes.
Except when you're on a podcast having a competition to figure out what the flavor is, then you're not allowed to do that.
So if you're wanting to make a summer sausage out of a snack stick or vice versa, perfectly fine. You don't need to make any adjustments. Just go ahead. If you're trying to go from fresh to cured, like you're trying to take a fresh seasoning, like a bratwurst seasoning, and make a cured sausage out of it, you're going to want to reduce the amount of meat you use a little bit. That's because most fresh sausages don't have enough salt in them to create a cured product.
The protein extraction there
exactly.
is key.
Yep.
Yeah.
So salt plays more of a role in cured sausage than just flavoring. It actually does physically help to extract the proteins. Also, if you're trying to use a jerky seasoning to make a cured sausage, you really need to cut down your meat process or the meat amount. If you take two seasonings like a jalapeno jerky and a jalapeno snack stick, the jalapeno snack stick bag is going to physically have about twice, maybe not twice, but close to twice the amount of seasoning in it. It's because with the jerky, it's a topical. You don't need as much. It's going to lay on top and you'll experience it right there. You bite into it, but you've already got it right on the top. With a snack stick, it's all ground in there, so you need a lot more.
Yeah. We've done that numerous times where we take something that's a snack stick and we use it on something that is a jerky product, either whole muscle or restructured, ground and formed, and you can't use as much of a snack stick seasoning on the jerky because it will be hot. If it is anything that has a spice to it, it'll be hot then, really hot on a jerky, unless you cut your meat down.
And too salty.
True, and too salty.
So do you like our Excalibur's sweet and sassy garlic pepper?
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
But it's got so much garlic, it's almost hot. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not spicy, but it just has a lot of spice to
burn.
It. Yeah.
Like you're like, ooh.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I've always thought that. I remember I used that as the base for like a salad with cucumbers once. I'm like, why does this like hurt to eat? I used way too much. And I'm not the two of us who classically over-seasons things either.
I over-season everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you didn't notice on our last episode with the bison and the Beyond Meat, did it taste over-seasoned?
It tasted pretty salty. But
yeah. I forgot to mention that on the last episode, but yeah, I put about at least 25% more than it called for. I just figured, yeah, if this is Austin's deal, just be classic Austin, over-season it.
Well, if some is good, more is better, right?
Yeah, that's the goal on everything in life, right?
Pretty much.
For our next segment of the day, I always enjoy this topic, meat matters.
Because it's alliteration. That's why you enjoy it. That's why I enjoyed it.
Partly. But it's the time to bring up what's going on in the industry as a whole. And we found kind of 3 stories that are all kind of interrelated.
Yep.
And they're really interesting. The first one is about calving season. So right now, for those of you that don't know, I'm sure some of you listening do know that we are in the middle of calving season, or as we're talking about on this episode, we might be a couple weeks past the prime once this episode's out. But you basically have 2 seasons for calving. You have the spring and you have the fall. Spring is usually heavier. Some people have more calves in the fall, but it kind of depends on where you are in the country. But calving in the spring is generally higher. But I want to stay away from some of this as possible. But it's still, some of this whole conversation is going to go back to COVID right now.
Of course,
since we're dealing with that, but
what in America or what in the world isn't?
Yeah. So a lot of what's going on right now, especially with the calving, is that, we're getting all these extra calves. They're going to be turning into an animal that can be harvested and processed and turned into some sort of whole muscle cut, a steak for you to eat at dinner, might be a snack stick or whatever.
Ground beef.
But calving right now is in an interesting spot because of what the meat market is doing as a whole and what they're then trying to do with some of these calves. But even beyond the COVID thing right now, it's not just COVID. It does have a play in there, but feed prices, what you can get out of calves, all of that is affecting what some of our farmers and ranchers are doing right now. Everything that happens, they are constantly weighing what should I feed? When am I going to do this? When am I going to do that? What is it worth to me? And the times we're in definitely cause some things to have them consider more than once on what they're doing with their long-term plan. But even past all that, for anybody that is involved in calving or ranching or anything in that department, labor right now really high. Takes a lot of work from the folks out there that are doing that. I know some of that secondhand. And I mentioned in the last podcast that my brother-in-law is a cowboy, but this time of year he is very busy. I hope to. I don't want to bother him too much while he's super busy, but
now might not be the best time.
Yeah, it might not be, but
that would be a great guest.
I will talk to him and get some of his feedback on what he's going through and get his vision on what this time of year brings for a guy like him or some of those ranchers from the middle of the country.
Well, I've met him before, and he would be an excellent guest on here.
I think he would enjoy it.
He'd be great.
I will at least throw it out as an option. Let him decide. I won't promise anything, but
best dancer I've ever seen. Best male dancer I've ever seen. He was ridiculous at your wedding. It was incredible, really.
He just, he's one of those people that just doesn't care what others, I think about him. He does.
No, that's pretty clear.
He does what he wants. And he's happy with it. And that's all that matters. But as calving is really kicking into gear here, it kind of leads into the next story in what happens after you're going through calving and you're raising a lot of these cows to be harvested. Is you get into feedlots. So that's the big question is, okay, if we're calving and things are going, ultimately the goal is we're going to send to a feedlot. But right now, feedlots they're down like 5%.
Which may not sound like a lot, but
they say that they have over 11 million head of cattle in feedlots right now.
Okay.
Think about that. 11 million cows. How many steaks does that turn into? That's
insane.
I feel like the country as a whole eats a lot more steak than I kind of imagined there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And we've gotten to this point where 1 million doesn't even sound like a lot anymore. It's an insane number.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen the million minutes versus a billion minutes versus a trillion minutes thing?
No.
We'll bring it up on a future episode. It is unbelievable how huge a number that is.
So, if we're down 5%, you kind of have to ask why. Why are we down 5%? Some of that is due maybe to COVID. Maybe obviously some of the big producers have shut down. So people aren't sending cattle to the feedlots.
Of course.
But on the other hand, prices have been dropping. And when you don't see a stable price or an increasing price, people aren't as incentivized to send their livestock to a feedlot to get processed because they don't get what they want out of them.
Now, part of that depends on the type of animal.
Very true.
With a hog, you have a certain time frame.
You still have a time frame.
Not as tight, though.
But not as tight.
Right.
But on like cattle, I don't know where it's going to go. Is it going to continue to drop or will it rise back up? It's going to be something to kind of watch as we go on here, because on one hand, it's kind of nice to see prices fall.
To a certain extent.
It's nice to go to the grocery store, the meat market, your local butcher, and not pay as much for that pound of ground beef.
Yep.
But on the other hand, I'm worried that it may hurt some of us in the long run.
Oh, absolutely. It's the same thing as gas prices. People were
True.
saying, I haven't seen, 90 cents a gallon since I was in high school. Yeah, you don't want to see 90 cents a gallon. The number of Americans that draw either directly or indirectly from the fossil fuel industry is enormous.
Yeah.
You don't want to destroy that entire industry. So lower price is good, yes. Rock bottom price is good, no. Same thing here.
I think the one thing that I'd like to see more information on, which we don't have here, the news we've been looking at so far is from Beef Magazine and meatingplace.com.
Mm-hmm.
But with what is in the feedlots, if that's dropping, does it have any effect on the custom processor out there? The very small independent meat locker that is doing a private sale between a rancher and that locker, instead of taking it to a feedlot to be mass harvested,
right?
Are they just doing more custom work?
Sure. Well, I'd imagine that's part of the reason that we're seeing an uptick in business is that is happening. But I could be wrong here, but I would think even if you took every single medium-sized processor and maxed them out, I would still imagine that's not going to make up for the shortfall of a couple of these plants closing.
One wouldn't think so, but
I wouldn't.
Honestly, I don't know that I can really say either way.
Yep, neither do I.
It's kind of a lot of speculation, which honestly, what isn't speculation in the market anymore?
Yep.
I mean, that's most of what we see anyways.
It's all guessing.
So our last story, kind of going then from calving to feedlot to now, what do you do after the feedlot? You've harvested and you're storing beef in your freezer. Not necessarily your personal freezer, but the wider gamut of what do the meat processors from small to large have out there in inventory for ready to process beef, either as whole cuts to be sold as fresh meat, or as something ready to produce into a further processed product like a snack stick.
Ready to eat.
But this is what I found really interesting, is that the current inventory, the number of pounds of beef in the U.S. is at almost 2.5 billion pounds. That's a lot of beef.
Yeah, for anyone who didn't hear him, that's billion with a B, not million. That's an insane number.
Yeah. I've been trying to calculate in my head, how many pounds a year do I have to eat to eat like at least 2 or 3 times my fair share? Because I know I eat more than the average American. So how many pounds of beef am I eating a year?
Ooh. Yeah. I don't even want to try to calculate that.
I probably should look this up, but I'm going to guess I'm eating at least my body weight, if not a couple times that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I'd guess just from here, a year we eat 3 to 4 times our body weight in meat. And that's like just what we eat on premises.
Oh, just here. Just here in the workplace.
Here. Yep.
Yeah. The only person we have to blame for that is you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because make so many things and just share them with everybody. And I feel obligated. I mean,
you are.
I feel like I would hurt your feelings if I told you no and I didn't eat something. So I'm going to eat
You
it.
absolutely would hurt my feelings.
It's good to know.
That is just insane. Sometimes you get that little bit of perspective and just take that step back and wow.
So to put this in perspective, some of these percentages aren't insane, but some of them are definitely really high. Beef supplies are up 11 to 12% for the year. Pork supplies are only up about 2 to 3%, and chicken is up 6 to 7%. I'm almost surprised at the pork number, because they've been talking about a lot more. Yeah, pork producers are shutting down, but I mean, it's still to be up at all.
Now, I know we've talked about this in the past, but I have a very good friend who's a plant manager for a local a well-known bacon place. He says they are literally nonstop. Just people are there. They can't do 24 hours a day, but they're running extended shifts. He has everybody like coming in all of the time.
Yeah. So that was my next thing on the list, is that pork belly inventory, bacon, what's gonna be bacon, is up almost 35%. And that's definitely gonna be weighted towards some certain producers out there.
Yes.
So if your friend is even higher than that, I would not be shocked at all, because there's a lot of big producers that they just produce a ton of bacon.
Yep.
Those people that are just bacon centric are probably going insane right now, because I mean, that number is a lot higher than what we were looking at for beef, pork, chicken, anything there in general. I think some of that comes back to the restaurant industry. How many times do you go someplace and you order bacon, you get bacon, it's on this, it's on a hamburger, it's
on everything.
Yep. Versus how many times at home do you cook bacon? I think a lot of people eat bacon out because it sounds like a treat when you're ordering a meal.
Fair enough. And especially when you take into account like diners, and that's breakfast heavy.
True.
Bacon's in literally.
No, it's in everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Well, that about wraps things up for Meat Matters.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I wish we had more news that was non-COVID related, but
we've
in
looked.
In the world we live in right now, I mean, that's what everyone's concerned with. So we at least tried to find something that is not totally centric around that, but
adjacent to, but not.
Yeah, hopefully that gave you guys some more info on a few different things there. Were you going to bring up something about milk cows?
So before this all hit, one of the things I was looking into, and it's been going on for a few years, they have been doing some really interesting things with milk cows. Now, I'm from upstate New York, and that is a huge dairy area. I mean, I grew up around 3 or 4 of them. And you think of a milk cow, obviously, as just milk and cheese, but they've actually started to do some stuff with end-of-life processing. So you have these milk cows that have provided literally tons of food to people through their entire life.
Yeah.
And in the end, were basically discarded. I mean, there was some use for them, but people weren't eating them.
Yeah.
And they've started to do some really cool stuff. I'm going to look more into it, and we'll do it on a future segment. But I've seen some comparisons between that and Kobe and Wagyu. And
really?
Yep. Now, there's some really specific stuff the processor has to do with terms of like feeding them in the last 6 months. And you do have to cook it a little bit differently. But it's really, there's a couple of like the blind taste tests that's one. So very interesting way. I mean, we all want to get as much use as we can out of these animals. It's terrible to waste anything.
Yeah, you don't want to waste any bit or part.
Right.
Everything we can use benefits all of us.
Yes, absolutely. And so this could be a really interesting way to do that. We'll talk about that more in the future.
So yeah, maybe on a future podcast here, maybe we can get some to try.
And then do a blind taste test right here.
Maybe. It depends on whose turn it is to do the blind taste test.
Yeah, I'm not putting on a blindfold. That's not happening.
Okay.
Don't trust you enough. All right. So for meat hacks, we have a very topical discussion here.
Why would we have anything that is topical? Because I don't feel like that's relevant right now, is it?
Definitely relevant. What we're going to talk about is safety.
Really? We will show you an up close picture of my finger right now. But there is
what was his finger?
What was my finger? But in a very important piece of safety is wear cut resistant gloves. If you're listening to our podcast, visit us at meatgistics.com and look for our podcast section. You can find pictures of my finger there, and then also the glove that we recommend to eliminate that, which I chose not to wear.
Chose not to.
It was not during a work-related event.
That's fair. It actually would have been weird if you were wearing one of these.
It was not during a meat processing event, but it still is a prime example of what a knife can do to a finger and why you should wear cut-resistant gloves anytime you're handling a knife of any sorts. And I regret saying this, but I made a very stupid choice, and I now am dealing with those repercussions.
So this is a Hex Armor NXT glove. We sell Polar Bear, which is a similar idea. The Hex Armor is a little bit different because it is more flexible, and if you see on the front 3 fingers here, it's got this extra protection. So they did an enormous study and found in meat lockers, in home processing and everything, the majority of the incidents happened on the first 3 fingers. Austin, which one was that on?
Yeah, which finger was it on mine? I think it was my pointer finger.
As somebody who has cut themselves way too many times deboning pork, when it happens, like if I don't have one of these on and I cut myself, I don't even tell Patrick anymore. I'm too afraid he's going to make fun of me. So I basically always wear one of these. You put a little nitrile glove over it, and this stays fine. They're machine washable. On the front 3 fingers, they're poke resistant too. So if you slip and poke into it, and we've done many videos of me stabbing myself.
Jon does these videos that I should not.
Should I do it?
No. I would say do not do this at home.
But do it here?
Sure. So if you're just listening, check out our YouTube channel to see Jon stab himself right now. But literally, you're not supposed to just poke at this. It is not totally poke resistant. Hex Armor does have gloves that are designed for like a police officer that is checking someone's pockets that has potentially a druggie that has a hypodermic needle, that a hypodermic needle will penetrate that. But when you're talking about a knife,
it's not getting through here.
Shouldn't get through.
If it gets through here, it would be the very, very tip of it. It's not going to allow it to slide all the way through, which is what you're worried about. I mean, if something happens and you have a little red mark there, who cares? You just don't want the knife all the way through your hand.
Some people will care because it can still be a workman's comp claim that it's going to be bad. But it does prevent a much larger injury.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. The gloves you were talking about, are they the gloves that I don't believe we sell them anymore? They were like the work or the mechanics gloves?
We used to sell mechanic gloves. Okay. No. These are something else. We don't sell them because honestly, we don't really hit that market for people trying to protect themselves from hypodermic needles.
For anyone who is interested, though, those mechanics gloves that we used to sell make excellent dog toys.
Oh,
my dog loves them. I put them on and we fight. Like basically I throw my hands in his mouth, and so he enjoys those, and then I let him chew on them.
I use those for ATV gloves. I use them for working in the garden.
Yep.
I use them for literally anything that I'm going to get my hands into that I'm like, something might hurt here.
Yep.
It might be more crushing. It might be sharp. It might be pointy. It might be whatever. But unfortunately, I'm repping a product right now that we no longer sell.
Right. But they are good.
They're awesome gloves. Yep. But yeah, so if somebody out there is interested in a more protective glove for some other purpose, let us know. Email us at podcast@waltonsinc.com. We can still get that other types of items from Hex Armor.
Just might be a special order or something.
Yeah, it's more of a special order. It doesn't fit our everyday market of food processing. So
now what does fit our market is they also do sell sleeves and a vest. And I remember when I first started here, Andy, who's the head of internal sales, is that his title?
He's the inside sales manager.
Inside sales manager.
Yep.
He said that he would make it mandatory for all of his new employees to have sleeves and vest of these Hex Armor stuff. And they are, I mean, they're serious. They're this material, much thicker on sleeves and a really thick vest.
Yeah, the sleeves and the vest, I want to say they feel heavier duty than even the gloves are. I don't know what the official poke or cut resistance is to them compared to the gloves, but
bulletproof.
If you want to test that out, I will shoot the gun. Actually, I take that back.
As long as I sign something.
You have to shoot the gun against yourself because I don't want to be thrown in jail for
murder. They are
murder.
really heavy duty, though.
Actually, at least wouldn't be like murder. It'd be like manslaughter. I didn't mean to do it. John made me do it.
He made me do it.
No, but I think as many times as you put that Hex Armor glove on and you start stabbing your hand with that knife,
too. I'm not holding back.
I'm gonna buy like a Japanese sword, a katana, a Chinese.
I'm getting very excited.
And I'm gonna have you put on an apron, and I'm gonna try to stab you through the heart, and we're gonna see what happens.
Well, that took a dark turn. I thought we were going to do something fun there.
I just wanted to see if you were going to take the same.
No, I'm not okay with that. That I'm not okay with.
Then I won't do that.
Okay. We could still buy a katana. That sounds like fun.
What can we do with that?
Put it right there. It would look great.
Dude, I would be in.
That would look great.
If you want to see us buy a katana, email us at podcast@waltonsinc.com and let us know which one we should buy, because I don't know what we should buy there.
I guarantee
I'd be potentially interested.
Tex will find something and send it in. All right. So for our next meat hack, we're kind of going to do a product feature too. We've been talking about this for a while, and it is funny. I did not mean to do this. It's funny that we just brought up Tex because he was asking about these scales. For
he's
a long time.
He's been pounding you. He's been pounding me. He's been pounding like the forums in general. He's been like, "When are you guys coming out with these scales?" And I'm like, "It's coming."
I'm probably gonna send him one.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna send him one. Yeah, he deserves it.
So I guess the lesson of the story there is
no. Don't say that. I know what you're gonna say.
Okay.
No. Definitely not. Definitely not. But no, this is the Escali precision scale, and I have tested it pretty dramatically, and it is awesome. So up to 500 grams, it measures by the 10th of a gram. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's 28.2 grams in an ounce. So think of how small an ounce is. And then there's 28.2 of those grams in an ounce. And this measures in the fraction of that.
Sounds like some science right there.
It is awesome. So one of the things that this is so great for is there's an ingredient called sodium erythorbate. Sodium erythorbate is a cure accelerator, meaning you can add it to a cure and you no longer have to wait 12 hours for that cure to work in the meat product. So if you're making a snack stick, a summer sausage, anything like that, and you're just adding the Sure Cure, you then have to hold that in a refrigerator for 12 hours to allow the cure time to become effective. The cure is actually breaking down into nitric oxide, and that's what's curing the meat. The sodium erythorbate makes that almost instantaneous. So by the time you get to the smokehouse, it is converting. The problem is 7/8 of an ounce. So 7/8 of an ounce is enough to do 100 pounds of meat.
Yeah. That's a very tiny amount for a lot of meat.
Yep. But this will let you do that. You can now use sodium erythorbate even on smaller than 25-pound batches.
So what is the smallest amount that you were able to successfully measure out?
10 pounds?
10 pounds?
So I did a 10-pound batch, and it measured it out perfectly. I wish I remembered what the number was.
That's okay.
But I don't.
That's why we have our Meatgistics site and the conversion chart
Yep.
and the scales is that you don't have to know
Ooh.
everything. You can figure it out on your own or with our help.
I actually believe that, and I may be wrong here, that on the additives, I didn't add sodium erythorbate because I didn't trust that anyone had enough of a precision scale to do that. I can't remember if I did or not. I might have eventually done it, but at least initially I wasn't going to do it.
John, I'm sorry, but this is the last straw, and I'm going to have to let you go for that one.
Well, all right. Take my beer and go.
Is that really a beer, though? Because you want to tell people what you switched over to?
So I was asked to switch over
Oh,
to. I did not go into the fridge and grab this. This is a Simone French style rosé saison, which works well for me because my name is Tremblay.
Wow.
Jonathan Tremblay. But yeah, no, a saison's like a farmhouse style ale, and when I hear rosé, I just think wine.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So.
Does it taste like a mixture of the two?
Honestly, it tastes like somewhere between seltzer and beer. Like it's, I don't know if you saw earlier, but I tried to take a huge swig and it like over
foamed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, very much. But no, it's good. It's good. I don't feel like the alcohol content is anything worth.
I don't know. I'm going to say it's got to be at least 6.
Yeah, but 6 isn't. I mean, that was the first one I gave you was 8. The first one you gave me was 9. This didn't even list it.
I don't know.
I would guess somewhere in the 4 to 5 range.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, these new Escali scales, they're all actually pretty great. We have replaced all the scales we were using in here for Meatgistics videos with these. Like them all. But for doing small batch ingredients, this is excellent. And for anyone at home who does use that conversion breakdown chart we did our absolute level best, but you're always going to get a more accurate reading if you do it by weight rather than volume.
Yeah.
That's especially true on the seasonings that have variable sizes in them.
So when you're doing some of the volume measurements, it is really nice because you can measure out easily without having to have a scale or without having to have any other gear. What you already have in your house for what you're doing with baking, like cookies and brownies, cakes, whatever. You can measure out tablespoons, teaspoons, cups, this and that for different seasoning blends. But if you really want to dial it in and you want to make your product just that little bit better, because that's what we're all trying to do, is every time we make something, we want to do something to make it a little bit better. You can use volumes, but we always definitely recommend going by weight.
Absolutely.
And the new precision scale is hard to beat.
It is. Especially at that price point, able to do fractions of grams.
Yeah. So. Normally, actually, that's only something you find on like a high end, like scientific
couple $100.
Scale. Yeah. So the fact that you can get that level of accuracy in something that's like, I want to say it's $34.99. It's kind of unique out there. You don't find many options that will do stuff like that.
Nope. All right. So for featured seasonings,
technically, one could argue whether this is a seasoning or if it's not a seasoning.
I would argue it is.
It might be considered an additive. It could be both. It could be both at the same time because additives are not meant to impart a lot of flavor. The only exception is like encapsulated citric acid. But that one, honestly, the flavor is almost a byproduct.
Right.
The bigger purpose is
acceleration.
Yeah, the cure acceleration. But if you haven't figured out by now what it is, which if you have, props to you. But we are talking about high temp cheese. High temp cheese is one of those things that I almost feel like we don't always bring up a lot as a seasoning. But I think it plays a huge role in what you can make in a meat product because it definitely does change the flavor. So when Jon made the barbecue jerky snack sticks and tricked me by using a jerky seasoning in a snack stick. The cheese does it gives a little bit different texture. It gives a little bit different taste.
Yep.
It is a seasoning, but it's one of those things that honestly I don't know many people out there that would say it's not a good thing to add.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who.
Yeah. Most people are on board with adding it, and I'm on board with adding it at a very high rate.
Yeah. You might go a little
going back to the Austin over seasons everything. But high temp cheese is really cool because it doesn't melt like your store-bought shredded cheese would when you put it into a sausage. So when you get done cooking, you still have cubes of cheese in your product. There's a lot of weird things you can do with it. Jon made a 4-cheese bratwurst,
we didn't want to just add the cheese in so that some bites you'd get ghost pepper and some bites you'd get cheddar. So we melted it all together, and we had to do it in a really hot pan.
Really hot.
And it had to be really quick. So melted it real fast, then poured it out onto a parchment paper, chopped that back up into cubes. So it came from cubes and went back into cubes, and then put it in, and it was delicious. I mean, absolutely awesome.
On one hand, when you first talked about that, I was like, that's a lot of work. Why would you do that?
It was a lot of work.
But on the other hand, the final product was amazing.
Yes.
So I won't complain.
So every once in a while, maybe worth doing. I would not recommend somebody do that every time they're making a sausage. It was a lot of work.
But if you're going to add cheese, or you just want to add that extra pep to something, honestly, even if you're just trying to impress your buddy or your neighbor, or even maybe it's just your wife to say, hey, I made something different this time, and add high temp cheese to it. It is cool from an appearance. It's cool from flavor. All around, I don't make like anything anymore without high temp cheese in it. Do you?
Very rare. When we get a new seasoning in, I always make it without anything, just so we can know what it tastes like.
Yeah, get the raw flavor.
Yep. All right. So quick, your favorite seasoning and cheese combo.
Ooh, you can't just throw that at somebody like that.
If you don't have it like loaded and ready to go, then you don't have one.
Supreme pizza brat with mozzarella cheese.
Very good. Mine would be apple with cheddar.
That is so weird.
It's good.
Do you eat apples with cheddar cheese?
I don't think there's anyone who does that, but I think I might try it.
I've heard of that. I think it's a thing.
I think it used to be a thing, like when people would carry around hard apples and like everyone had a pocket knife and they'd cut off a piece of apple and cheese. Like that reminds me of Great Depression for some reason.
Well, we did talk about Prohibition earlier, which is around that time. So maybe that's what we're getting back to.
Yeah, going back to that. But yeah, that would be mine.
Well, the only thing I have to say to that is you're wrong. Because Supreme Pizza with mozzarella beats it hands down.
That is a great one. Now, speaking of apples, can I just quickly talk about how good Wild Game seasoning is?
No.
With Granny Smith apples?
No. For some people in the world that are kind of like messed up in the head, I mean, they like stuff like that, like you.
I did get hit in the head a lot.
Normal Americans don't think that is a suitable combination.
It is good. For anyone who wants to try it, grab our Excalibur's Wild Game seasoning. Grab yourself some crisp Granny Smith apples, cut them up, pour some of that on it, let it sit for like a minute or two. Absolutely delicious.
So I will say this, not to inflate your ego, but it's not as bad as I made it sound.
Yes.
It definitely has one of those tastes that I think has to be a specific taste pattern. I don't know how to describe that, but I do think a lot of people would enjoy that. I am not one of them, though. Will be weird, but if you like Indian food, I think you'll like it. Like, it's got a real specific taste. Yeah,
and if you like it, so I love it.
That makes sense.
Haven't had it in a long time.
Good.
Gonna change that quickly here.
Great.
So, on to talking about Meatgistics.
Yeah. So the Meatgistics podcast. I mean, we obviously have to talk about our Meatgistics website. But last thing for the day, we always want to provide some sort of update to what's going on with Meatgistics, and it's almost hard to give an update at times because it is just so jammed packed with people posting this and that, and we have so much community involvement that it's hard to pick out a few things or one thing that is like the thing to talk about right now.
There was a time 2 years ago when you told me at one point, you said you won't be able to respond to everything on Meatgistics. And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
I definitely will be able to. And it's gotten to the point where, I mean, part of the reason I'm not quote unquote able to is because somebody else has already done it perfectly. But another portion of that is we have more than 10 times the interaction we did 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So.
But as we get more of that interaction, one of the things that pops up, and it did pop up just recently here, is something. It started out as like a cooking competition. John and I kind of have a thing back and forth about who makes sausage better, who cooks better. But that got brought up then from some of our Meatgistics users. And we've discussed this in the past briefly. And we're going to spend some more time on it. But we want to have what we call a Meatgistics quote unquote meetup. Like MEAT. So kind of a pun on things, but we want to get people to come to our location here in Wichita, Kansas. To have like a weekend or during the week. We're going to have to figure out what's going to work best for a timing scenario, but do some learning, do some socializing, obviously. Do probably some drinking. A lot of sausage making.
Absolutely.
And just
eating.
Of eating. And just overall have a really good time. So I know that the podcast is new or newish. But Meatgistics itself is not necessarily new. We have a lot of people out there that follow this, and so we're going to see what we can do to make this not just a virtual thing, not just people talking on a forum or us talking to you on a podcast or you guys talking to us over social media comments, but what can we do to get everybody physically here? I guess not everybody, because there's tens of thousands of people
obviously
that are following us.
But if you go to Meatgistics and at the top of the screen, you'll see a map, like a little map icon. You can click on that. And there are a lot of people who this would be driving distance for. And those are fairly big users. I mean, the two, I'm sure there's more, but the two big ones I can think of that would have to fly would be Parksider and Joe Hell. Retired railroader too, up in he's on Long Island. I mean, those are flights, but there's a lot of people in the center of the country who could drive here in a couple of hours.
And I haven't told you this yet, so I'll tell you on air. But if we do a Meatgistics meetup, we will do some sort of giveaway that is like airfare, hotel, everything included, that we will pay for someone to be here. Oh, it's not nice?
No.
I felt like that was very nice.
That's very nice. I was going to do it again. I was going to offer somebody to stay at my house, and then you told me that was creepy.
Okay, we will give you the option of staying at a hotel or staying at John's house. Take your pick. I'm going to be very interested to see how those results file out.
Well, I'm sure my wife will have something to say about it.
Hold on. Should I retract that statement?
Probably.
Do we need? Okay.
Yeah, probably.
I will retract that
pending approval of my wife.
We get the wife's approval.
But no, that'd be awesome. That'd be a great thing to be able to do. I think we could get a lot of people who could make it. I think we'd have to do it either on a long weekend or something like that.
The hard thing is the long weekend. Are people going to give up a vacation elsewise?
I think for a lot of people, this would be a vacation. I mean, Wichita's not the coolest place in the world, but it's not bad.
I'm a pretty cool person.
Right.
You're a pretty cool person.
So I've lived all over the country, other than like the West Coast. I've lived all up and down the East Coast, in the middle of the country. Wichita has some of the greatest people. I mean, that's not... I won't really listen to debates about that. It is great people here.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is your scenery. It stinks.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to see 30 miles in any direction, Wichita's the best place in the world. But if you want like a mountain or even a hill, it's the wrong place for you.
There are hills in Kansas,
Yeah,
though.
no,
Like,
but
people
they're
get that wrong.
They're
but-
highway overpasses.
No,
Those aren't hills. Those are highway
no.
overpasses.
In Kansas, have you been to the Flint Hills? Have you
I've driven
drove
through them
through?
numerous times.
They have very large hills, hillier than a lot of areas of the country. But people don't think of that. Okay, don't think of the mountains.
Those are not large hills.
Don't think of the mountains. You're used to New York, where like the Appalachians run up, and like we have
the
mountains.
Adirondacks, sir.
Oh, whatever. Appalachians, Adirondacks.
Well, it comes through there too.
Oh, well, you have mountains.
But the Adirondacks are cooler than the Appalachians.
Okay.
So.
I will someday visit those, and
They're-
I will judge you on that.
They are absolutely gorgeous. I was real lucky growing up where I did. So, but yeah, no, that'd be great. Have everybody get here. I can only imagine the drinking and the eating.
We're gonna have to choose a hotel that's within walking distance.
and has a bar in the hotel.
Probably, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to what you guys want to do.
Yep.
We will have something out there on Meatgistics. Go to meatgistics.com. Look for the podcast section. But also you can email us at podcast@waltonsinc.com. We'll have something out. By the time this podcast is out, we'll have something out there asking for opinions on what we do with a meetup and what works, because we want it to not only be successful for us, like we don't want only 20 people to show up. We want to get 100 people to show up.
However,
more. I think we get a lot more than that potentially, but
for the first year, if 20 people showed up, we'd still have a amazing time.
Oh, we'd still have an amazing time. Like the number of people won't make it fun or not fun, but the more people, the more engagement and the more knowledge everyone's going to learn by talking to everyone. There will be things that we can put on and we can do some demonstrations and some learning sessions. But the biggest thing you learn is sitting around the table, eating some food, drinking a beer, and talking with somebody over, hey, I was doing this and I did that. And what was your experience?
Yep.
And that is the big thing. But
and it'd be great if we could get a couple of the guys who have commercial plants but are on Meatgistics come down and share their insight. I mean, I don't know if they'll be able to give up a weekend, but that'd be great.
We can always ask.
Yep.
That would be an interesting deal to do a crossover event. That's like a true full crossover event where we had both. Like it was intentionally done as both. That's a whole nother level, because we already do that. We already do this type of thing, what we're talking about for Meatgistics Meetup,
for the commercial
for
guys.
our commercial processors. And that's already a huge event.
It is.
So to combine that with like the consumer and retail side, it would be insane. That would be extremely fun.
Well, immediately our very large classroom would not be big enough right away.
Probably not.
Because you can't add 5 people to that, let alone, so we'd have to think that through a little bit more.
We've actually done that in the past. Before we were in this building, we didn't really have a classroom, so we rented out a space somewhere else, had the class there. So there's a lot of options there. But
I always forget there was a Walton's before I started working here.
Yeah, John.
Seems weird to me.
There was a Walton Family, a Walton's Inc., a waltonsinc.com before you got
Are
here.
you sure?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Not 100% sure on that.
You might be right. I think I grew up homeless.
There you go.
And I never...
See? I knew I'd get it out of you.
I shouldn't say that because it's not like I grew up like in a well-to-do off family. On the other hand, I hope don't get that wrong, but I didn't grow up homeless. We definitely grew up on some very meager standings, because where we were years ago is not where we are today, and we're still not a big company. So don't think that
what's our employee
out of
count at this
context
point?
there.
It's below 50 still? It's hovering at 50, right?
Nah, it depends on how you calculate it. our full-time equivalent
Yeah.
because you have to calculate this person, that person. Are they full-time? Are they not? So the
Okay.
part-times,
So FTEs.
FTEs were almost 40.
Okay.
But that fluctuates.
Sure.
Like right now, we're almost 40. During the busy time, we're definitely higher. We're not above 50 because 50, I mean, you get some other things you have
Changes
to deal
some
with.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so we're still under 50, but we're not just like a 5 or 10 man shop.
No.
We average around the 35 to 40 right now.
Okay.
Busy season, maybe a little higher. So,
yeah. All right. So we are going to, as soon as we put this out and you guys start sending emails to podcast@waltonsinc.com, we'll take your questions. We'll start talking about those. And these might change up a little bit. These first 3, 4, 5 are all going to be pretty much just what we wanted to talk about, but we obviously want to talk about what you guys want to hear about. So
But-
let us know.
I like to talk what I want to talk about.
You're going to have to change a little bit.
Okay, I can do that.
We can
So-
still mostly focus on us. It's okay.
I'm kidding, guys. Yeah, this will be what you guys want to talk about. So let us know.
And then for a coupon,
Coupon code of the day.
it's the 30th?
Well,
Yep.
no, maybe when this is released, it may or may not
But
be
today,
that day.
to make it easier
So,
to remember
okay.
to make it,
So we'll do. What did we do last time?
podcasts and the date, I think.
Okay, so let's do podcast 430.
Okay. And what are we going to make it?
3%
3% off.
I was thinking like 1.5%
Ooh,
off,
that
but
doesn't
like
sound very
10% more on shipping,
Okay.
just to
So
kind
we'll
of
make
make
that
up
up.
for that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, okay. So podcast 430, that'll get you 15% off any item at waltonsinc.com, excluding something that's already on sale.
Yep.
And up to $100 in total value.
Yep.
That'll be good for 2 weeks after this episode is released.
Okay.
So
So have to-
15% off podcast 430.
Sounds good. All right.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for being here. Make sure to give us that thumbs up, give us a review on whatever channel you're listening on. Hit the like button, whatever it takes.
Yeah. And check out all the other podcasts on the Talk North Network.
Yep.
So enjoy those. That's Minnesota Bound, The Flush, a few others. That's where some of you will find us. And for those of you who found us anyways, check them all out. Definitely worth a listen.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
See you guys.
We'll see you next time.